Dragon Ball community, welcome back to another video with Kaiokris, and I'm going to be doing a pretty in-depth deck profile over the set 27 Frieza. This is Shining Pride Golden Frieza, one of the only Golden Friezas left that hasn't been banned, essentially. And this deck I have tested pretty extensively. This deck to me is a very, very strong rogue pick. I don't think this deck would ever be meta because of the ceiling of card knowledge and everything that's needed for this deck to pilot really well. It's not as generic as something like, even like Swap Frieza, which I think is a little more generic than this deck. But this deck has a good matchup across the board from all different colors. And then really it just becomes kind of like player dependent at that point. But this deck is really strong. It's definitely a contender for me for maybe some events after Dallas. I won't be playing this for Dallas. But maybe if we get a ban list, maybe this deck gets a little bit stronger. Primarily the Nova matchup is one of the hardest matchups for this deck. Which is strange because you can kind of deal with everything that Nova has, but all the games I've tested with Nova, that's been the only one that's been really giving me a struggle. Vegeta is not too terrible, like U7's not too terrible, Broly's pretty self-explanatory. So you have a good matchup across everything across the board. So I'm going to break down my version of the deck. This also includes the Zdeck and the side deck currently for this format as of right now before any ban lists. So Frieza on the front side, you have two different effects. When you attack, you add, you look at top 5 and add any yellow Frieza clan to your hand, and then you have an activate main where you can take up to 1 life and then place a yellow Frieza card in the drop from your deck and then shuffle. This is really nice. This allows you to, you have a lot of resources you actually can use from the drop area, most of which I'm using. There's some other options that you can also do as well, but I'm primarily using the best 2 options for this effect. And then you also awaken at 5 life, where you are a restand, you are a draw 2, not a restand. So you can awaken on your opponent's turn if you would like to, so you don't have to force your awaken, which typically I don't try to force my awaken as much as possible, because a lot of decks are going to take you down to 5 anyways. Now on this side, you have 2 effects. You can attack, you discard a yellow card to then draw 2, and then you can sack off a yellow Frieza clan to play an 11 cost Frieza clan from your hand, which will come up pretty heavily in this build. So start off with the 1-drops, which we have 6 of. We have 2 of the Flaunting Power Frieza, 4 Flaunting Numbers Metacooler. These are your cantrips that every archetype has. Everyone has at least 1 card that draws you a card and then 1 card that searches out your archetype cards. What's nice about these is that these can be used on defense, which is a very distinctive effect in this deck. So you want to be playing, typically these, if you go first, you're playing these on your opponent's first turn, right? Now, why these cards are good is, yes, they draw and they search for stuff, but they also have a really powerful defensive mechanism built into the deck. Built into a mechanic built into these cards. So for Frieza, this is a counterplay. When it's played, regardless of how it's played, you draw a card. And then if it's your turn and your leader's a yellow Frieza, this card's combo becomes 530,000 combo power. That is not a misprint. It's not a typo. It's exactly what this power comes to, which is really, really crazy. It's based on his power level in the anime, I believe. So you can slam this. It's basically going to get you out of any attack. Now, the downside of this card is that most decks nowadays are running cards that have either on-play removal or they have a way of disrupting this card once it hits the board, whether they are attacking and they can hit it or tap it or warp it or whatever it is, right? So there's a lot of effects that you just don't have the ability of, like, there's time where this card's just not going to hit the board and not do its job. So we only run 2. We do play 4 Metacooler, which is, to me, the better one out of the 2. So Metacooler states when your opponent attacks, it's a counterattack, you play it, and then you can combo up to 100 Metacoolers from your drop area. And then when this card's played, you top 5 for a yellow Frieza clan. So you're getting a draw out of it, and you're also getting extra combo. Now, you'd say, well, the combo doesn't matter, right? Like, these are all just 5k combos. So we do run another option that we like to utilize, which is going to be the this 10 cost Metacooler here. I've played the deck with it and without it. It feels so much better to play it with this card. So this is a yellow Frieza clan, so you can pitch it off of your leader effect here. You also can pitch it off with this effect too if you would like to. So you get this card in the drop, and then this is an actual Metacooler card. So the other 10Ks are typically Metacooler core, so they don't actually work. So this one is just a 10K combo. The effects on this card does not matter. It could be blank for all I care, but this is a 10K combo, which is going to come up a lot. So if you have all of these in your drop area, right, and you use this guy, this is a 40K combo for 1 energy if you include you comboing this card off as well, right? So as you scale through the game, even just having both of these on the drop, like this is a 25K, this is a 30K, this is a 35K, you know what I mean? So like this is allowing you to get out of an attack, cycle a card also back to your hands. You're actually not losing anything, and you're making it really difficult for your opponent to be able to kill you, right? So we have those. Then we go into the Archetype, which we play. These are all of our 1-cost cards here. Okay, so we have 2 Chilled, 3 Grotesque Frieza, and then 4 of the Fearsome transformation here. Okay, so these are the 1-drops we play. I don't think you need to play any other ones, to be honest with you. There's a 5-drop Frieza that comes in the Archetype. I don't think that card is very good. I think it KOs a card in rest mode, but that's fine. So these cards all cost 1 energy. They all draw you a card, and they all place a card underneath your Z extra card, which is called Wickedest Clan, which we'll go over in a second. So this card you can play on if you have 2 energy, which then you tap a battle card or a unison. This is a 15K that also has barrier. Sorry, just fixing my lighting here a little bit. This is a 15K that also has barrier. You have this guy, which is a 25K crit. This guy will draw you a card if your opponent has 3 energy, so your opponent needs 3 for this guy, and it will negate a card's skills and then tap it. I think it doesn't really matter the order. It taps it and then negates its skills. So this allows you to basically remove certain cards off the board, like in green, having to deal with the 8-drop triple striker that makes you discard 3 cards. This is a really good way of getting around that. This is your, and then it also has crit, like I said. So this is Fearsome Frieza, which also is like, this is the anti-Saiyan Frieza, essentially. So you play it for 1. When this card attacks, you tap any battle card on your opponent's board. If that card has the Saiyan trait, you will KO it, and then this card will restand. Now that is a limit 1. The activate main to play it is not limited. These 2 are reversed. So both of these autos are not once per turn. Not that it really matters, but the limit 1 to play these cards are once per turn. So that's kind of strange. So this guy, you can actually play all 4 of these in the same turn, draw 4 cards, but you will only get the tapping a card and then potentially KOing thing once. You won't be able to do it multiple times. So these are all of the 1-drops that we play for the Archetype. Typically, this is like the best one you're going to play in most matchups. There's some matchups like Gamma, Nova, where this card's not super effective. This card is just probably the better one to play in most of those matchups, right? You can tap something, you can negate its skills, and you're swinging 25K crit. Most decks, 25K crit is a super combo or a hard negate, so you're getting some sort of resources out of their hand. Chilled is really good for decks that are playing blockers, where the unison is they're trying to protect the unison, so you can tap down the blockers. Also just tapping down like cantrips and other cards you might want to swing into that you also don't want this card to be interacted with, being barrier. So they'll have their use. And then we get into the kind of the primary function of this deck, which are the 11 costs. Okay, so, and I'm gonna grab the Z extra card just so we can talk about this as well. So all of these function around the usage of this guy here, which is called Wickedest Clan, which is a really cool alt art as well. So this is a 1-cost 1Z Z extra that has a bunch of effects on this card. So the first effect, the auto, states when a Frieza clan is removed from your board. Does not state how, it just says when it's removed. You will place 1 Frieza clan from your drop area underneath this card. That is not a limit 1. It's not once per turn. It's on either turn as many times as its procs, okay? So this could be from removing it from being KO'd, bottom deck, bounce back to hand, warped, power reduction. Also, it includes being comboed. So if you combo with any Frieza clan off of your board, or if your opponent combos it somehow off of your board, this will trigger, and you will place a card from your drop of Frieza clan underneath this spell. So there's nothing that stops this from going off other than if they negate this card's effects, right? So anytime a Frieza clan leaves your battle area by whatever means, this will trigger. Now, why that's important is that this has an activate main, again, not once per turn, not limit 1, where you will discard 3 Frieza clan from underneath this, negating one of these cards permanent for the turn. Now these permanents are all the same, where it states these cards can't attack. Essentially, you can play these cards out for free off your leader, so they kind of nerfed it a little bit to force you to play this card and then utilize the effect, which again is not super difficult to do. By turn, because you'll probably play this on turn 2, by turn 3, you should be able to swing with at least one of these, and you might be able to swing a second time with a different one. Okay. This also has a third effect that states activate battle. You can remove this card from the game, and then you reduce the combo cost of all of these cards by 1 in any area. So from hand or from board, they no longer cost any combo. And I think also that would include from drop, if you had a way of comboing them from the drop or from the deck or whatever, because it says all areas. Okay, so we'll go under the distinction that all of the Frieza clan cards work with this. All of these guys as well, all 3 of these cards, when they're played, they place a Frieza clan from the drop underneath the field. So all of these will trigger this guy once. Okay, your leader also triggers this since you're placing one in the drop area, right? So just keep that in mind. Okay, so going over all of these cards here, so we have the King Cold. We play 4 of this guy. He is a crit, Aegis, 25k. When he's played, you draw a card and you bounce a battle card back to your hand. This is primarily used for battle cards that are, when they're removed from game, when they're moved from the board, they get removed from the game. So like Z battle cards, this is really good into. Also really good into really expensive cards. If your opponent used it to basically used it for their entire turn, you can use it to bounce back into their hand. For secret rares, it's also very good as well. One really easy way of getting rid of like Gogeta's Z battle card, which is a really difficult thing for yellow to remove, is you can play Chilled, and then Chilled, you can tap it, and then you can use the King Cold to bounce that card back to your hand. So you can play Chilled, put a card underneath, play King Cold, bounce it back to the hand, put a card underneath, and you drew a card for each one of these. Okay. Now this is a crit. Also has Aegis, so it has some defensive capabilities as well. Definitely the only 4 of that you would run out of these 3. Then we have Mecha Frieza. 25k, he's blocker. He also is a successor target only if your leader is this leader. So if you play this guy from successor, you'll draw a card. That is limit 1. But when this card's played, you will KO a battle card in rest mode and then take 2 markers off of a unison. That is not limit 1, so you can technically play this off of your leader effect. Kill a card and take 2 markers off, and then you can successor into this to draw a card and then KO another card and take 2 markers off. So you can kill a 4-cost unison for the cost of potentially 1 energy, if not 0, if you already had that card on the board. We only play 2 of this in the main deck. This is the worst one typically because this one's only really used for unison-based decks. So if you're playing against a unison-based deck, like King Cold's technically just going to be better because it's going to draw you a card, but like, again, if you don't have King Cold, you can play this, like tap a battle card and then just play this and then just kill it, right? So like you have different ways of being able to use it. And then we have Metacooler Core. Again, this is a Metacooler Core, so you can't use this with the 1-drop. This is a double striker with Offering that is limit 1. So it's either drawing you 2 cards or your opponent's critting a life. And then when this card's played, you add a marker to one of your unisons. Typically, we're going to play this with the unison, which will show off in the Z deck. Once your opponent hits 4 life, just slamming this down is just going to draw you 2 cards. Typically, your opponent's even if you don't have this on board, like it doesn't matter if you have this on board. You just play this at 4 life. Typically, your opponent's not going to take a life, right? They're going to just let you draw 2. So like this is going to be a draw 2 every single turn, and you can only do this once per turn. So that's they kind of balanced a little bit there. So we'll put this guy back. Going into the next part of the deck, we have another really strong tech option here, which is the 5-drop Goku Frieza, and then combining it with this card called Agony of Hell Frieza. Okay, so a lot of stuff going on here. So first thing is going to be, we'll grab the Z extra again just so I can show you this. So the 5 cost here, this is our barrier removal for the deck. Essentially what this does is you can play this from your Z energy for 2 energy by putting a Frieza army into your from your board to your Z energy. So Frieza army is a little bit different than Frieza clan. Technically, any card that has Frieza on it is a Frieza army, except for like this guy because he's a U7. Most of them are going to be Frieza armies. So I think everything but King Cold, Chilled. Actually, I think Chilled might be. Chilled is a no. Chilled's army. That's right. That makes sense. So Metacooler is not, and the King Cold is not. Everything else is going to be typically a Frieza army. So then you play this for 2. You put that card into your Z energy. You play this from the Z energy. You will draw a card, and then you'll KO a battle card ignoring barrier in rest mode. Essentially the same thing as Janempa. The only difference with Janempa is you can tap 1 just to draw a card and play it, and you have to tap more energy to do the other effect. So that's something you can technically do if you want to, but we don't play the Janempa just because this is searchable. This also has a secondary effect where when this is swap, which we don't care about, but we can remove this card from the game to play a 2 cost or less Goku or Frieza from our drop area, which is going to be this guy. This is going to be our second target to put into our drop off of the Activate main here. When this card is played, you add a Frieza card from your drop to your hand. Doesn't matter the cost, doesn't matter the color. If it is a Frieza character trait, you can add it to your hand. Okay, so typically, if you see a Frieza card in this deck, you can add it to your hand essentially. So the reason why I showed off the Wickedest Clan here is this combination also allows you to really gain value from your 11 costs. Okay, so let's say you have a battle card in play. Doesn't matter what it is. You play this. When you place that card into your Z energy, this will trigger putting a card underneath. When this card, you activate main to remove this card from the game, that will trigger the Wickedest Clan as well. So you put another card underneath. You play this, draw a card. So you drew a card off this, you drew a card off this. You then use your leader effect to sack this off, which will then put a 3rd card underneath, and then you can play an 11 cost. So for 2 energy, you played a 20k, removed a card, drew a card, a 10k, which just draws you a card, and then this guy, which draws you 2, and now you can swing with it because you just put 3 underneath. So this is really, really strong. 3 of it is necessary in this deck. You can even go up to 4. You are paying 2 for barrier removals. That's one of the only problems with this is you have to pay that. But this is an on-archetype card. You can grab it back with this if it ends up dying and you don't get the effect off. Like, there's different things you can do, but you have to play this card. 100% have to play this card. And then the 1 Agony, you can play 2 of this, but I only played 1 just for space. 4 Mecha Frieza. This is a searchable card in the deck. We don't use the bottom effect where you can play Clan of Terror off of this, which is the best one to play. It just doesn't... It can technically work in this deck. I just haven't really found the time to actually do it. But a 15k negate that's searchable. That also triggers all of your effects. And stops anything but units from attacking unless they tap a card. It's still not as good as Bardock. Obviously, people are going to play Bardock over this. But playing Bardock in this deck is just not very viable. You don't build a lot of Z energy typically until late in the game. So having this access to it because you can search it, and then we just have to build the extra cards. We just need 2 in the drop and or the energy, and then we can activate this guy for 1. Super combos, we have 3 Krillin. Self-explanatory there. We need to cycle through our deck, so we play Krillin. The extra cards, we play quite a... We play about 10, I think. We have 3 Nimbus, 2 Time Magic, and 2 of these. These are going to be our negate package here. So 2 tokens, 2 Time Magic, 3 Nimbus. This seems to be the best split here. We're typically going to charge one of these. If we need one in the drop too, we can always use our leader effect to swing and put a yellow card in the drop area. This is pretty standard, I feel like, here for the yellow. Then we have our 1-ofs, 1 Pos, 1 Black Kamehameha, and of course the 1 Cold Bloodlust. This makes a lot of your matchups, especially against Vegeta, against blue decks, against Broly if they're playing Golden Cooler, is that none of those cards have to flex. So you can just use this and then you just hit that card, and now they don't get any of the effects and they just wasted their secret rare, and that's really hard to deal with. So this card, again, you just have to play this card because we are a yellow Frieza. This is really good as a 10k combo that draws you a card. Also taps 2 battle cards on defense, which is very good, and also just as another extra card that we can use. We can just use it early to keep a high life total, and then also it fills up our extra card combination for the mecha, and then pause, hard negate, or you can tap something. People are still not prepared for this sometimes against yellow. Draws you a card, taps a battle card or a unison in the combat step. Then we get to our boss monsters. So we have 2 of the 10 costs. Put this guy back. We have 2 of the 10 costs here. You need 4 energy. You play this guy for 2. You play a 1 cost Frieza from the drop. A Frieza, I think it's Frieza Clan. Yeah, 1 Frieza Clan. So you can play either the Meta Cooler or the Frieza to either draw or cycle a card. This card KOs everything in rest mode. You don't get to choose. And then you play that card, right? So this is a 30k double striker for 2 energy. What's nice is that this and this, or the Meta Cooler, right, these make 11. So you can also, for 2 energy, you can play this guy. You play this to draw a card. You carry everything. You can swing at this guy. Then you can successor into this, which will then draw you another card. Since these 2 cards were placed in the drop area due to an effect, they were removed from the battle area due to an effect, you can put these 2 cards or 2 cards underneath your Wiggins Clan, and then this card can almost attack. So you're basically adding 2. So you get to, again, for 2 energy, you get a 30k double striker and then a 25k attacker. So again, really, really strong. You also don't need multiple of these since we play Agony. Let me go back to Agony real quick. Since we play Agony, this is a Frieza, so we can just add this back. So you don't need to run multiple of a lot of these cards because you can just add them back off of the Agony. We have 1 secret ID, tokens primarily, but just also just allowing us just to clear board, just to keep things a little bit tighter for us. 2 Vigor Broly. This card is so insane in this deck. So if you look at like having this on board, and then any of your Frieza clans, but also like any of these guys, if you just board one of these guys, maybe you had it on board from the previous turn, you can play this for 2, and then any other cards that you tap down after the 2 energy, you will gain one of these 6 keyword skills of your choosing. So you have Barrier, you have Blocker, you have Revenge, you have Dual Attack, you have Double Strike, and you have Crit. So you can choose any combination of those cards for whatever you tap. So you can just tap these down, tap down your extra card, get as many of them as you can, and then use your leader effect to sack these off to then play new ones. So you get a lot of cool interaction with these cards, especially because there's sometimes you're just going to play them just to play them and not actually using the swing. So you can either extra 10k combos, or you can use them for these effects here. And then he gains the skills for the rest of the game. This is really good to play on defense as well. There's times I would play this on defense, gain like Barrier, Blocker, Revenge, and then I have this on board already, and I can Aegis by pitching a blue and a yellow card, so I can just pitch extra copies of this to restand my energy. Now I have energy up for Nimbus, for Mecha, for anything else. All right. And then we have last 3 cards. We have 1. Get rid of this guy again. We have 1 Majin Buu, 10k. It's a 10k combo, but 30k double striker for 1. It's very strong still. 1 6-drop Goku. Barrier removal. You can swing a million times with it. And then our secret rare is Piccolo Gohan. I have tested Super 17 as well as Xenocell. Both are also very good options. I think Super 17 is probably a little bit better than Xenocell, because Xenocell is sometimes hard to, you gotta build up the board to be able to do it. But Gohan Piccolo is just so powerful. Being able to like turn like maybe like this guy or the Broly or one of our double strikers into a huge swing, and then also use this guy as a swing later on, or we can use him defensively. Gives him a lot of options, especially because we can tap out, and that's very important. We can tap out, and then we can utilize this card for defense, which is very, very good. Okay, so now we have the Zdeck. Of course, we already talked about Wiggins Clan. We have the Frost. We have the Frost Unison here. Doesn't get played a lot. 2 cost, 1 Z. Plus 0 is you play an 11 cost from your hand. And if you guys remember, Metacooler core adds a marker to a unison. So you can use this, play the Metacooler, which will then gain a marker to this. He's a 15k attacker, so he can still attack. His -1 is you restand an 11 cost. So that's not really relevant too much. But you can, let's say you give like the crit guy, or you give the Metacooler core, the double striker, the ability to attack off of Vegeta's clan. You can use this to just restand it and then get a second attack in, which is pretty decent. Typically, like if I have that on board already, I'll play this, I'll -1, and then do the effect. Normally I don't have this on board. You're going to be playing this in like slow matchups. This you'll play in like the mid-range matchups to control matchups. You'll play this in the control matchups. In the aggro matchups, we're not even going to play Vegeta's clan. We're going to play Mighty Blast. So Mighty Blast is what you're going to play in those matchups, because we typically don't need the ability of being able to swing with the 11 cost. We're just going to play them out for their effects and then utilize the Mighty Blast for defense later on. Extra Unison, 1 Tapion, very good at keeping stuff locked down. Our battle card Z battles are pretty powerful. We have the crit Goku and then the crit Vegeta. Barrier removal and just board wiping ability. Also just big crit swings are also really good. 1 Haze and 1 Oolong for our 1-drop battle cards. Tapping cards, tapping unisons, gain the power of any card that you want, so kind of be using it as like a finisher. It's very good. And then we play the combination of Rocket and the Cell. This is if we need to just stop our opponent from killing us on a turn. If we're just really far behind and we're going into like a matchup where they play like Xenocell or like Light in the Dark, and we just need to just not die in the following turn, we can tap 4 for this, tap 2 for this, and tap 2 for this guy. And then now your opponent can't attack or restand battle cards that have barrier, blocker, deflect, or dual attack. Also, you can use this to play these guys for free once per turn. So you can use this on your turn and then play a second one on your opponent's turn. That's also a really good way of just getting these bodies out and just using them for 30k battle cards, whether you're using them as a blocker or not. And then this gets removed at the end of your opponent's turn. All right, and now the Zdeck. Currently, this is the Zdeck. I think this is a pretty balanced Zdeck. There's maybe one change that I would make to it, which would be this guy here, the Cold-Hearted. We don't typically like tapping 2 for anything in the deck anymore other than like the Broly. But this is a good defensive card as well. Draws a card, you can use it as a blocker, negates skills. Obviously, that's really good. 2 Quates, using it for removal. Not for removal, but to stop floodgates or to stop our opponent from playing stuff on our turn. We have 2 Gokus. This should be released from evil. This is the only change I would make. I currently don't own the card. I should say I own them, I just don't have them. But this is also good as well. This counts battle cards, extra cards in your battle area. So a little bit better than Mecha, but it's a counterplay. Counterplay is anything coming into play as long as it doesn't have deflect. And this card also draws you a card and it's a blocker. So this is also really good into matchups where they're playing like Vegeta or any red deck that's playing the 4-drop UI Goku. You can rest it, even though this card will probably die, you can still rest it. You can rest the 8-drop Trunks that kills cards ignoring barrier. You can hit 7-drop Cumber. There's a lot of cards you can hit. Beast Gohan, Evil Saiyan, things like that. You can hit all that stuff. 2 Gohan for hand destruction. I don't think 2's enough, but you don't have a lot of room, so 2's just gonna have to work. 2 T-Below for like the Gamma matchup. You play this. 1 Absolute Annihilation, just typical yellow generic stuff. 2 Vegito, probably the best side deck card, other than actually it's probably the best side deck card other than these next 3 cards to play into Vegeta. This just allows you to slow down Vegeta's turn quite a bit using this and like a token negate. Now your opponent has to tap another card, and they're typically not going to be able to do that. So one more 11 cost for the decks that play unisons, and then the last 2 cards here are going to be 2 Tau. Mercenary Tau. This card is the best card to side in against Vegeta, and even into like Gamma as well. So this has an activate battle. On either turn you play this card, you get the combo. You have to combo a 1-cost, original 1-cost card from your hand with its skills negated, which would include all of the 11-cost cards because they are 10k combos, When you do that, you draw a card, and then this card gets played with barrier till the end of the turn. So this is on either turn. Then this card already has blocker. When this card, you can activate battle. When this card is in battle with another card that is on offense or on defense, it does not matter which, you can activate battle to KO the card, ignoring barrier. So whenever card is in battle with this card, you can activate battle to KO that card. So on your turn, it basically stops your opponent from getting the combo step. If you do it on your opponent's turn, you do it in your combo steps after they combo. This is really strong. It will catch some people off guard. Into Vegeta though, this is a way for you to bait out the 4-drop, whether it's the 4-drop dual attacker or the 4-drop barrier blocker, because they won't want to attack with it, so this will actually stop an attack. If they don't have the ability of cumbering, you basically have a free turn where they can't attack you with anything that's important, because you can just kill the first thing that they attack with. Then if this card sticks on board, you can now swing it into cards and then just activate battle and just blow them up, which is really cool. So that is the deck. Again, I've done quite a bit of testing with this deck, a lot of different variations of it. I think this is a deck that people should give a try to. It is a little bit of a higher skill cap to learn and master, but I definitely think people should give it a try because it is really fun. It has a pretty good matchup across the board against stuff, and definitely a contender for some of the regionals that I have coming up for playing it. I just have to see if Vegeta ends up getting hit or not. If it doesn't, I'll probably just keep playing Vegeta. If not, this is definitely one of my other options. So thank you guys for watching. As always, if you guys do enjoy the content, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.